Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. I hope you are all very well, and I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. How's everybody doing? What have you been up to? What are you doing tonight? Have you been playing games this weekend? Have you been doing any hobby? I know a few of you have been doing some hobby. It has been pretty damn warm again this weekend up here in the northeast of England, so hobbies took a little bit of a backseat, but I did manage to do, well, not hobby so much. It was actually, that's kind of half hobby, half work. It was stuff I wanted to do for myself, but I've decided to film it for a video. So it kind of counts for both stuff, doesn't it? So yeah, so I've been working a little bit over the weekend, getting some stuff done. I'm not going to give it away. I don't want to kind of say, oh, this is what I'm working on, and then it never gets finished. So yeah, I'm working on something anyway. But yeah, I've had a pretty good weekend. Weather's been nice. Bit of family time. My wife was out at Newcastle races at the weekend. It was Ladies' Day, and she was there with her sisters at the weekend. So me and the little fella had the day together and went for a wander around the Bolton Lake and went to the play park and stuff. It was quite nice. Had a nice day. So, how are all you doing? Let's have a look and see who we've got in the chat tonight. Hobby Hero was in nice and early. Good evening, Hobby Hero. Said, good topic. People went quiet after Rain in Hell, and in some areas after AOS 3 launched. So yeah, hello by the way, mate. I should say, yeah, tonight's topic is about sort of after the hype, and I'll come on to what I mean by that in a little bit. But it's not directed at any one particular game or any one particular company. It's just around kind of how some games get hyped up, what happens after that, kind of the game launches, after the hype dies, what happens. So yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit about that tonight. Al Cluley, hello mate, how are you doing? Ortega, hello if you're catching us in the rerun, mate. Peter Nicholas, good evening sir. Tolmod Greybeard, Ice Moon, asking what everyone's working on tonight. Hello to you too. Peter Kuhlman, good evening. Christian Reeves, hello fella, hope you're well. Blizzard says olas to all. Derek Hodge, good evening as well, mate. Good morning to VJ. Who else have we got here? Tyler Peck says, what's up? Good evening, Tyler. Jeff Higdon's in as well. Happy Monday, he says. Palmsy, nice to see you as well, fella. Hope you're well. Scott Latham, good evening, sir. VJ says he's pretty hyped at the minute. His Tiny Epic Zombies should be arriving today. Dinos arrived, Tiny Epic Dinos I think it is, arrived last week, and Dice Academy arrived yesterday. It's going to be a big family games weekend coming up. That's what I like to say, mate. Family games weekends. John Estel says greetings to the Brushlickers. He's got some trolls on the table tonight. Nice one, fella. Nice one. Good evening to Ian as well. Busy's in as well, saying DJ hype on the decks. Nigel Jones, good evening to you, mate. Who else? We are. Busy saying he missed both streams last week. What? How very dare you, sir? Rob Zunk's in as well. He says, Yahoo, we made the chat. Good evening, mate. Nice to see you in the chat, sir. Tony Howell says hello to you, lovely people. Hello, mate. Tony, I'll check those Malafor minis when the stream's finished, mate. I literally, I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I kind of like slid in on my knees to get started on time tonight. I decided right at the last minute I was going to shave my head. I think I decided that about 20 to 9. So yeah, it was a bit of a last minute decision. Ed Hanley, good evening to you, mate. We got Lee in as well there, scouting the web. Says, good evening. This sounds like an interesting topic. From my experience, most games die to the next hype. We might just be touching on that very thing, mate. Kodos, good evening to you, mate. Stu McMurtry, hello to you, fella, as well. I've got your minis all boxed up as well. You won the charity raffle, didn't you? I've got all your minis boxed up. I'll be getting them posted out tomorrow for you, mate. I was waiting on some bits of packing material so that they didn't kind of get damaged in transit. But yes, they're all boxed up. They're next door, next to my 3D printer, ready to go to the post office tomorrow. Hope Lives, good evening to you as well. Tony Booth-Leiden says he's in early for once. Quiet, it's done. We've also got, oh, let me scroll back. That just jumped ahead there. We've got loads of you folks in. Andrew Pell, good evening to you as well. Yoakum, have you finished painting the house now, mate? It sounds like you're doing a bit of mini painting tonight. Let's have a little look. Tony was finishing his pumpkin monster at the weekend. Very nice it looks too. VJ's finished his Kings of War builds, so taking a couple of days off from hobby. I like to do that now and again as well, mate. It's nice to have a little bit of a break from stuff and just kind of kick back and remember why you love the hobby, and then kind of having a couple of days. I quite often miss it after, if I've not like sort of painted or built anything or played a game or kind of had a chat about it for a few days. I start to get them kind of like, oh, I could really kind of do something now, and I think that's kind of, it's healthy to do that sometimes. Sunday Psych, good evening to you. Says thanks to the storm trying to tear apart his house right now. I'm actually awake for a live stream. I hope everything is okay, mate, and I hope everyone is safe. Marco, good evening to you, mate. He says, hoping to see some of your lovely faces at Saturday at Expo. And Andy too, you cheeky beggar. Yes, I'm going to be at the UK Games Expo from Friday through to Sunday this weekend. I am going. I know I was kind of humming and hawing last week about it, but I thought, bugger it, I'm going to go, even if I spend a weekend in the pub. A weekend away is still better than a weekend at stuck at home, especially because my wife's already got plans. She's got all of that sort of like our mates coming staying over on Saturday night and stuff, so there's a bit of a girly night in the house while I'm away. So yeah, I might as well just have a weekend away. But I am a little bit disappointed at some of the not the companies. I'm disappointed that some companies have cancelled and they're not attending this year. So I think it's going to be a little bit different than it normally is. However, if there's nice folks there to sit and chat to, I'm sure we'll have plenty of fun. So if you are going Friday, Saturday or Sunday, please drop me a message. Let me know either through Instagram, through Twitter, through Facebook, through any means necessary, really. We'll try and kind of, we might even kind of come up with a specific time, just so that if folks are on their own and they feel a bit nervous or anything like that, it's just kind of like, if I say, like, for example, this is not me making a plan, by the way, but if I say like 2 o'clock on the Saturday at a certain place, then basically it means that if you're kind of on your own and you're feeling a bit nervous or whatever, just come along. Everybody will be welcome. Where else are we up to here? Ed Handley said he started the Dread Anvil for Blackstone Fortress Friday night. Nice one. I tell you what, I'm getting good at all these kind of acronyms as well. Colin Wakening, good evening, mate. Phil Campbell says, hope we're all tickety boo. Nice to see you in, Phil. Lee Russ, good evening, mate. Hope you're well, fella. John K says, good day, Andy. Painting a store demo copy of Dominion Stormcast at the moment. Very nice, mate. What are you painting them? Kind of sort of normal gold, mate? Are you going with like the box art, or are you doing something a little bit special with them? Tony, he's chatting to VJ there. Red Rose Wargaming, good evening, and how the devil are you, dear? Animus says, I'm having a cup of tea and assembling the new Stormcast. Well, I'm having a glass of water. I did have some ice cubes in here, but they've literally melted in the in the 5 minutes I've been streaming. So yes, just shows how warm it is tonight. And now the condensation's leaking all over my velvet table. Somberland, good evening. Jez Hunt, hello to you as well, mate. Wayne Haywood says he's painting Bosk and Thundershan hunters from Imperial Assault and building Colonial Marines from Aliens. That's plenty on the table, mate. I like that. Where are we up to here? I jumped ahead a bit. Marcus is rushing with the blade in hand. What could go wrong? It's not that kind of blade. It was a shaver. Like, so I wasn't going to cut myself. Although I did stab myself in the finger, and it was a bit uncomfortable. Where are we here? Mind Morph says, afternoon, all good afternoon. Says, still smoky with the forest fires. I hope you're okay, mate. I hope everybody is nice and safe. Tony says, must be something in the water. I shaved my buns today. Do you know what it is? I think I sat down, I switched the camera on, and I kind of glanced at myself and I thought, my God, you look a mess. You need to shave your beard and shave your hair before you go on the stream. Looks like I've not really been anywhere for the last week, and I just thought, yeah, I really do need to have a tidy up. So yeah, a bit of a last minute decision. Al Clooney said he's going to Expo on Saturday. See you in the pub. There you go, mate. They do sell drinks inside. I mean, or they have done every other year as well, so you can get a beer and play a board game or whatever as well, which is quite nice. But if the weather stays as it's forecast, it looks absolutely glorious at the weekend. And I've been dead lucky every year I've been to the Expo. It has been blazing sunshine, and sitting outside around the lake and having a bit of lunch from the street food places, or just having a little wander and getting some fresh air. It's looking like it's going to be another one of those years as well. So yeah, beers outside might be a nice shout. Andy Smith says, after hype comes disappointment. Not always, mate. Hello, by the way. Not always, but it can do. And I'm even going to touch on the kind of like the science of that as well. John says he did say, I'll be wearing a red carnation under the large clock. Yes, mate. I'll know which one's you. Andrew says he's going to Expo on Saturday too, but with the wife, so pub is highly unlikely. Well, please do. If you get the chance, if you see me, I tend to wear one of these kind of BlackJack Legacy shirts, just so, like, not really kind of pushing like the brand kind of thing. I think more just so if people want to come and say hello or anything like that, like they don't feel like, oh, he's like, he might not want to talk to anybody or anything like that. You know, people are sometimes a little bit nervous. Like it's it's kind of weird that you see me on camera, but I don't see you lot. Lots of you, I don't know what you look like. I don't know you to kind of go, oh, hello, how you doing, kind of thing. So if you do see me and you do want to chat, feel free to ignore me. But if you do want to say hello, please do just come and come and say hi. I'm absolutely fine saying hello to folks, and don't be shy. Okay. Kodos is saying he's working on Trebuchet for Kings of War, 172nd historical model. Nice. 6 in the head. Palmsy saying, after the hype is gone, how could you leave me on? A bit of Earth, Wind and Fire there. Arnold says, you really should start an hour earlier. It's getting close to bedtime here. I can't start an hour earlier, mate, because if I start an hour earlier, then the little one isn't in bed. So we always used to start at 9 o'clock, purely just so I could make sure the little one was in bed and asleep before I started the live streams, because quite often my wife was away. So yeah, if I start an hour earlier, it messes up with kind of us having our evening meal and stuff like that. Plus it lets the Australians come in as well. So I know it's getting close to your bedtime, but the Australians are getting up at like 5 in the morning, so it swings and roundabouts. Nostock, good evening to you, mate. How are you doing? Andrew Fairbanks, hello. He says he's his afternoon governor. He says painting the Cruel Boys in a desert scheme. Oh, I look forward to seeing that, mate. Marcos says, which publishers pulled out of the expo? I didn't hear anything about it. Games Workshop are not going to be there now, mate. Wayland Game. Oh, what was that one? James Arm, thank you very much for the donation, mate. He says, have a beer at the expo on me. Thank you very much. I will do, mate, and I will send you a picture of that beer. Yes, it was so Wayland Games or War Cradle Studios with Wild West Exodus and Dystopian Wars and stuff. They're not going to be there either. I think Bad Squiddo Games had pulled out as well. There were a number of other ones as well, but it's a lot. Unfortunately, there's a lot of the miniature stuff that seems to have gone. Mantic is still going to be there. I think there are Battle Systems are still there. I think Rubicon is still there. So there's a number of things still there, but a lot of the companies that I would have liked to have gone to see and sort of have a chat to and stuff, folks that I deal with like on the internet, if you like, or send emails and like business stuff, but I've never actually had a chance to meet them face to face. There were some of those folks I would like to have said hello to. But yeah, Warlord is still there. There's still a few companies there, so I was a bit worried about the fact that the hotels are quite expensive, so obviously it's costing me a few quid, and is there going to be enough there to kind of like to last the 3 days? But then when I thought about it, it's like the night times are kind of fun too, so even if I don't last the full day Sunday, if I leave early on the Sunday even, it's still worth having the Saturday night there to play some games or whatever, or kind of catch up with the folks and have a beer and a meal or something like that. Andrew says, gladly say hello. I was just lamenting the fact I won't be allowed much beer. I'm sure you can get one. Get a sneaky one, mate. Just tell us a shandy. Lisa sadly had to cancel the expo plans last minute. We were a bit hesitant when they said they weren't going to police masks, so cancelled, and then they flip-flopped. Yeah, they have been a bit flip-flopping backwards and forwards. I'm a bit more relaxed about it, if I'm perfectly honest. I kind of the way I kind of see it is I'm protecting everybody around me by not having COVID. So as long as I kind of do my tests, I've been jabbed, I'll be doing negative tests. So I'm kind of like I was a bit more relaxed about that. I'm not too concerned about sort of getting it myself, if you like. I've had it before. I know what it's like, or certainly I know how it affected me. I've had both my jabs now, and I want to get back out there and start kind of enjoying the world again, really. So I'm a bit more relaxed about it, I think. But I completely understand it for folks who haven't sort of had their jabs and stuff like that, or feeling a bit nervous about it. Sundered Sykes are really hard not to get caught up in the hype. There are certainly people I know who catch the hype train, buy all the great plastic and then do nothing with it. Just wait till we start talking about it, mate. VJ says, I hope the weather's nice today. He's going to head out to the beach for the meditate. That sounds awesome, mate. I've always kind of wondered about meditating. I've never meditated before, but I feel like I'm kind of I'm in the right place of my age in my life where I probably should start to meditate a little bit. I did go to the gym today. I'm massively unfit. I'm very, very unfit. I had a little bit of a health scare last week. Like VG, I was telling VG about it. So I'm kind of like taking it easy. I'm literally just, I mean, and I went to the gym purely just, I went on the treadmill and I kind of just put it on a fast walk, and I walked for like about an hour and a half, I think it was, and just kind of, I'm just trying to build up like kind of stamina to get back into running and stuff. I seem to have, like through the whole like last year of lockdown and 18 months of like literally not really doing anything. My job's based in these four walls kind of thing. I live at the other side of that wall. I don't go very far to work kind of thing. My job's pretty much sitting on my backside. So yeah, kind of lockdown of eating nice food and drinking nice drinks and not really exercising has kind of caught up with me a little bit, like from just from a fitness point of view. So I need to kind of start from square one again now. But yeah, I'm getting back into it. Kodos is saying, in my opinion, games that only have the hype going for them but nothing of interest in gameplay or support end up in disappointment. The problem is, mate, and we'll come on to this, but at that point when the hype started, you don't know that, and that's part of the problem. Marco says War Cradle does not go, but on tabletop or hosting. They are hosting, mate, but they're doing it very different this year. They're not sending. They haven't got like the kind of the live stuff that they would normally have. They've basically sent about 3 or 4 people to do some kind of filming on the day, and then I'm assuming they're just going to kind of upload the data straight back to the studios, and they're going to kind of update it from there. So they're not flying over and having the big studio like they normally do every year. VG says a company's pulling out of the expo due to rising COVID cases there again. Cases are actually dropping again now, mate. They're coming back down. But people were dropping out because they felt uncomfortable that restrictions had been lifted and that the expo weren't voluntarily, because it's not a legal requirement anymore, they weren't voluntarily enforcing the wearing of masks. And they weren't enforcing the negative COVID test beforehand because, again, legally you don't have to now. So a lot of people pulled out at that point, and then the expo changed their mind, and now you do have to have a negative test, and you also do have to wear a mask indoors. So then by that point a lot of companies had already pulled out and kind of sort of cancelled their pitches and all that kind of stuff. So that was what some of it was. Where are we up to here? Where are we up to? Ed saying no nats, so no expo, no nats. Nationals, is that, mate? Is that no nationals? I get why, but still sad. Lee says, yeah, we really wanted to go but just can't risk it for various reasons, so we'll have to wait till next year. Yes, definitely, mate. Next year we'll share that beer. Good evening, Radak. How are you doing? Christian, sharing the link for Patreon there as well. Thank you very much, mate. Sunded Sykes says, the more stressed work makes me, the more I meditate. I can be very rewarding depending on how you do it. I wouldn't even know where to start with meditation, mate. And VG says, yeah, that makes sense. Negative test and masks is just common sense at the moment. Yeah, it's just like I say, restrictions have changed now, so it's basically up to individual companies, events, that kind of stuff. And Ed says X-Wing Nationals. Yeah, I thought that might have been it. So why don't we? Andrew was just saying, have GW announced the end to the Texas, Louisiana, Florida tour? They can't enforce a negative test in 2 of those states. I've got no idea, mate. I've not really kept up with any of the GW stuff. I can't. To be honest, we're not allowed to travel to the US at the moment. Folks from the UK are not allowed into the US unless it's for very specific reasons at the moment, and I can't imagine GW's tour being that. Buddyfy on the iPhone app. Yeah, drop me a message, mate, because I'll remember that when the stream's finished. But right, let me get my notes up here, because we're gonna dive in and we're gonna talk about the subject now. We've got a good number in now, so we might as well. Where we're gonna go? We're gonna go to here, aren't we? So yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about after the hype. So tonight's discussion and tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about after the hype. So when games sort of are getting released and there's the big hype train for them, there's that sort of momentum, that kind of push where everybody gets excited about them. But what happens after that game's release? What happens after the hype train kind of comes to a stop? And what happens to sort of the folks that buy those games, and what happens after that? And what should we look out for? And how can you kind of avoid getting caught up in that? This is the stuff I want to talk about tonight. So I'm going to start with a definition of hype, because I think we all think we know what hype means. But if I tell you what the kind of the dictionary definition is, then at least we're all singing from the same hymn sheet a bit. So it defines it as either an extravagant or intensive publicity or promotion, which I think the bit that surprised me was the extravagant or intensive, because I think I always just think of hype as being marketing, really. Or the other one is to promote or publicize a product or idea intensively, often exaggerating its benefits. So that's the definition of hype. I can completely see why we call it the hype train now, because I think sometimes it's things can get a little bit kind of exaggerated, but not necessarily by the companies, because hype is something that I find in miniature gaming tends not to be done by the companies themselves. Well, not so much by the companies, but tends to be done a little bit more by the actual community. And I'm guilty of this as well. Like when I'm excited about something as well, I can kind of get on the hype train, if you like. I'll talk about stuff on this channel, and I guess some folks might consider that as to me hyping things up, but I'm not doing it from the point of promoting something. Like, nobody's paying me to say nice things about something. If I'm getting excited about something, then I'm just sharing with you why I'm excited about something. I tend not to share why I'm not excited about something, because it's a little bit like kind of sort of raining on somebody else's parade a bit. There's always going to be games I'm not excited for that somebody else will, and it's not really my kind of place to sort of bring them down. But if I'm excited about something, I will talk about it. So hype is really what markets the product, and like I say, it doesn't always come from the companies themselves, and it gets folks to kind of sit up and take notice about it. We're in an industry, or we're in a hobby, if you like, in the hobby industry that we love and we buy on a regular basis, is a pretty small and a pretty niche thing, and kind of outside of GW, there's not really anybody else has the kind of money to be going on advertising on kind of so advertising on TV, advertising on the side of kind of advertising hoardings at the side of the road, doing radio ads. It tends to be a lot of just kind of internet marketing, be that word of mouth, be it social media, be it some promoted posts, be it paying some kind of content creators to make things. That tends to be about as much as they can do. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to whip up a bit of a frenzy, get the communities excited about it, and hopefully word of mouth from the communities spreads this kind of hype out, if you like. And it's very different to just marketing a product, because otherwise, if it was just the same, then every release would be hyped to hell, and I don't think that we'd be able to take it. I think our blood pressure would be through the roof if literally everything that was being sort of marketed to us was marketed with like this kind of hype machine. So what happens is folks get excited about it, they get them kind of the FOMO feels, the fear of missing out, they start like their friends are talking about it, and maybe they weren't really considering it before, but all of a sudden everybody's talking about it, and then they feel they're not part of the cool kids, they feel they're not part of the gang, they don't want to miss out, they want to feel part of the community. And so sometimes people can end up changing their mind and actually deciding to buy something, even though initially it wasn't really what they wanted, but they get caught up in that hype train. And short supply of things, or perceived short supply even, can only exaggerate this kind of this FOMO and this hype, this whole like limited edition or pre-order bonuses or short release window. We see it from Kickstarters, you know, like back it on day one and you get a discount, or back it on day one and you get this kind of limited edition miniature that comes with it, Kickstarter exclusive only. Or certainly in terms of GW stuff, there's always this kind of, whether GW comes out and says it or not, there's always this fear of limited amount and limited releases, and if I don't get it now, I'll never be able to get it kind of thing. And all of these things basically kind of add to the hype machine. So once the hype's died down, what happens to the games? Now, something I wanted to talk about is this. And this is basically, I forget what it's called now, it's got some scientific name, but it's kind of like, it's called like the hype cycle. And this essentially is the kind of like the phases, if you like, that something getting hyped about goes through. So it starts off with what's called a technology trigger. This is basically like something is being launched. It's a new product. In this instance, it's like a technology product. But actually, like in our instance, it can be a new game. It can be a new miniature. It can be a new book or something. And basically what happens is over a very short period of time, the visibility for this product basically goes through the roof. And that's the point where we see that kind of that first high peak. And that's the point of kind of like maximum hype, if you like. That's the point where everybody is kind of like, when's it coming out? How much is it going to cost? Pre-orders are going up this weekend. I can't wait to get on board. You've got to be there at 10 o'clock to kind of order it, that type of stuff. And then what happens is right at that peak is pretty much the point at which everybody gets it in their hands, or the people that certainly could get their hands on it, get it in their hands. And there's a little bit of a kind of like a plateau at the top there where people are dead excited. It's just arrived. They rip off the wrapping. They open the box. They see all the grey plastic, or they see all the miniatures inside and all the cardboard stuff to punch out and all that kind of stuff. And they get really excited for it. And then there's this kind of this cooling off period, if you like, and it comes down to what's called the trough of disillusionment. And this is the point where where people realize actually that the size of the prize, if you like, that the hype that they generated in themselves, the way they felt about it, how strongly they felt about this product, the product doesn't actually live up to it. And it might be it's a really, really good game. They might be beautiful models, but I think there's sometimes a little bit of buyer's remorse. There's a little bit of like, oh, I've just bought more stuff and I've still got a pile of stuff that I haven't even touched yet. And there's this kind of low point at this point. Over a period of time, we then kind of come through what they call this trough of disillusionment, and we come into the slope of enlightenment. And this is the point where actually over a period of time, and this can be weeks, months, even years later, this is a point where people start to kind of discover this game almost for a second time. And it might be that lots of people are playing it now, or that basically it's the game has kind of it's ironed out any of its kinks. It's kind of like it's on maybe a second edition or something, or it's maybe kind of sort of had an update or an errata or something like that. And it's the point where people's kind of interest, people are just getting interested on a normal basis, basically. They're generating their own interest. They're not being hyped to be interested in it. And then you get this plateau of productivity. And this is the point where the game is out there in the wild, it's been out for a while, and people are just kind of happily playing it or whatever it is. But nothing ever lives up to that original kind of hype. So some companies, at this point, when we get to this top of this hype sort of chart, some companies have basically made their money at this point. They've got a community for the game, that the hype has generated a community. There's Facebook groups opened up. People have started to kind of start podcasts for them, all this kind of stuff. And so what they do is they quickly follow it up with more releases while the kind of the feel good factor is still there, while the feeling's still really strong and high. This kind of strike while the iron's hot mentality. On the other side, there are some companies who basically, they've made their money now, but they just basically move on and kind of go to the next project. And that's one of the reasons that there's this kind of like this kind of downward slope straight after it, is because actually there's this point where people go, oh, so you've got my money now, like you don't want to talk about it. And it's because basically they've hyped it up, they've talked about it, it's been on their kind of website every week, they've been all over Facebook. And then all of a sudden, they kind of just stop talking about it, because at that point, well, we've sold them all. There's no more to sell, so there's no point talking about it anymore. And I think that's sometimes what kind of heads off down that cliff as well. However, the player base have also they've also had their dopamine hit, if you like. They've had that kind of the rush of the excitement of the hype. They've managed to get their hands on it. They've got the box in their hands now. But they're also looking for the next high now. We're in a kind of a consumer age now, where people are constantly looking for that next hit, that next, what's next, what's coming out next, what's new. People are constantly asking what's new. I have to do it. It's kind of part of what I'm doing. And I go through flat periods of time where it's tough to talk about stuff. It's tough to find things to talk about, because there isn't anything new coming, or the new stuff that's coming is just not really my bag. It's not really what I'm looking for. And I don't want to say that I kind of feed the machine, if you like, but people generally don't respond the same way. If I go, oh, right, tonight I want to talk about this game that came out 3 years ago, and people have already kind of made their mind up about that game at that point. They either already love the game, or they've decided it's not really for them. So and hobbyists are exactly the same. They're constantly looking for that next fix, if you like. It's like they love going on that journey, like love it or hate it sometimes. Like there's sometimes a bit of animosity in them communities when you're kind of coming up that curve. But they're looking for the next big hit. And if you don't, I'm sure you do believe me. If you don't believe me, how many boxes were you really hyped for that are still kind of sitting in your hobby room or sitting on your hobby shelf, completely untouched. Maybe you've opened them and had a look through them. Maybe you've kind of clipped out the sprues and you've built the miniatures, but you've done nothing else with them. Maybe you've painted a couple, or you've started to paint a couple, and then something shiny's come along and kind of took your eye off it and sent you off down onto the next one and getting ready for the next sort of big hype project. I know I've done it before, and I'll probably do it again in the future, but it just shows that actually sometimes what we're doing with hype is like it's like the chase is more enjoyable than the catch, if you like. It's a bit like fishing kind of thing. Once you've caught the fish, just throw it back kind of thing. You don't necessarily, you don't do anything with it. It's just like, I wanted to catch a fish, I've caught a fish, and I'm just going to throw it back again. And herein really lies the problem of hype, is that these games basically can just, some of them can disappear without a trace. On the other hand, some things kind of basically can flourish a little bit later down the line. I've got a few examples here. Games like Star Wars Legion, games like Marvel Crisis Protocol, and games like Dead Zone, which on their initial release probably had a little bit of hype, but then basically almost kind of like just sort of not died a death so much, but went really quiet, whether it be for things like Star Wars Legion, there were some release issues. Things like Dead Zone, it's just, you know, Mantic games that tend not to be as popular as something like GW. But they kind of they find their footing a little bit later on. They go quiet because basically the community hasn't enjoyed the game or whatever it is, or they've already gone to the next hype train. But what happens with these kind of games is they come back almost like for a second time. Like Marvel Crisis Protocol with me, I'd already written it off as a game I didn't want, but at this point in time, it's a couple of years old. There's a lot more releases out there for it. There's a great community sort of kind of sprung up around it, and there's lots of people playing it locally that weren't even looking at the game 12 months ago, and certainly weren't looking at it when it first came out. Like Star Wars Legion is exactly the same. It suffered from a few release issues when it first came out. You essentially saw a lot of Vader versus Luke in like for the first kind of 6 months, and now it's had a lot more releases. We've had that kind of the droids box with the Clone Wars stuff, and we're starting to get more variety and more faction stuff, and it's becoming a very popular game again. And sometimes this can be why it's better to get into a new game, and when I say new, I mean new to you, not necessarily a kind of like the big hype, if you like, once the game is established. Like I've found this personally with things like Kings of War, with Malifaux 3rd Edition, and again, as I mentioned before, with Marvel Crisis Protocol as well. These are games that at that point I didn't get caught up in the hype originally. I kind of found them on my own, like later on, looking for something interesting, and something's piqued my interest, and rather than getting dragged along in the hype, I'm just finding them and enjoying them because I genuinely just enjoy those games. Like I said before, like these companies have, like these games have like thriving communities now. There's plenty of players to kind of get involved with. The kinks have been ironed out, as I mentioned before as well. Like the rule sets have been tweaked, the kind of points have been updated. And I think that's sometimes, like I've found this with, if I take War Cradle as an example, with Wild West Exodus. When Wild West Exodus first came out, I was a bit confused with the game because it was constantly changing. It was constantly having the rules updated, and it was constantly having stats updated. And it feels now that it's in a much more stable place, and I enjoy the game now, but I didn't enjoy it so much back then. I've got this kind of feeling a little bit with Dystopian Wars, is that I feel that every time I kind of look online, something's changed a little bit, and I feel like I'm almost holding back from jumping in because it feels like it's not in a settled place yet. People love the miniatures, they love the models, they love painting them up and stuff. People are enjoying playing the game, but for me personally, it's not really in a stable place yet. So this also happens that some games or some companies, if you like, they kind of fly under the radar, and they never really get the exposure that they deserve. These games are never ever going to be hyped. If you think about some of the mini agnostic games, like I'm sure they're probably great rule sets, but they're never going to be the next big hype type thing. I think Reign in Hell's maybe a bit of an exception in the fact that it was by kind of two well-known YouTubers who basically released the rules, and I think anything by Joseph McCulloch kind of gets a little bit of attention just based upon kind of history. But generally, a lot of these kind of sort of indie games and indie companies, like think about like things like Moonstone, think about Burrows and Badgers, think about Drowned Earth. These are all fantastic games, but there's never like a huge hype around them because the communities are, whilst very loyal, they're just not the size of something like GW to kind of get the mass of people excited about them. Sort of in the way Fantasy Flight can hype a board game, if you like. So to bring it around really and to close it up, it's fun to get on the hype train. It's exciting to kind of hypothesize about what's coming out and come up with some ideas and get excited about a new game. But what I would suggest is kind of when you're getting on that hype train, knowing like kind of what kind of a journey it is. Like, is this an exciting journey around the world where you're going to enjoy it and kind of really like sort of get excited about the game and build them miniatures and play the game when it's finished? Or is it just kind of a journey to the end of the track, and once you get there, that's it? Basically, it's a little bit of a kind of like a bit of a dead end. So kind of knowing why you're getting on that hype train in the first place is really important, and I guess really is what it's all about. So folks, let's have a little chat here and see what you're talking about. Where are we up? VG saying smash your face into the like button. Thank you very much. Dave Dog says, remember my grandmother's wise words, after the limited edition boxes launched, the scalpers have regrets. So scalpers are a different thing. I don't even want to get on the subject of scalpers tonight. It's more about folks like me and you, like just kind of getting excited about something, and then actually, like, if you think about the amount of games, a prime example is we were just chatting today about the Age of Sigmar 3 Dominion box. The amount of companies or the amount of game stores I've seen heavily discounting that, like down to almost cost price, to get rid of stock that they've got, because they're worried about having money tied up in it. They're worried about having stock on their shelves because they know there's a big new GW release coming in a couple of weeks' time, and they need that money and they need that shelf space to fill their warehouse up again with all the new stuff to sell that on, and they've got to shift all of that quick because they need the money back and they need the warehouse space. And it's just this constant cycle of just feeding this kind of hype machine, if you like. But building up to AOS 3, everyone was hyped about it. Everybody was dead excited about it. Like, where are all those folks now that there's loads of boxes left? Rob Brown, good evening, mate. How you doing? Peter Nick says, there's a hype train. How do I get on it? You need to just know which stop to be at, mate. That's what it is. Chugga says, no stock. It terminates in a garage full of boxes. It sometimes does, mate, yeah. Odd Side of Dice podcast. Good evening, Kieran. He says, after the hype, we watched countless moaned about how it's not as good as the old company, or as the old company slow support, so game will set to die, and after 3 years, new edition hype every evening all. That can be the case with a lot of games, certainly with certain companies' games. But this is the point. I think people, especially when it comes to Games Workshop stuff, and I'm not going to like single them out through the whole night, but I think they are very much a company that gets the marketing and gets the hype going for a game, but doesn't really give you the full picture. You very rarely get to see any gameplay before you kind of get to spend your money on it. And they're very much about, oh, look at our beautiful miniatures. There's a game in there as well if you want to play it, but look at these beautiful miniatures. And I think that's sometimes what happens with that kind of hype, where basically you've got them minis in your hand. Yeah, they're lovely, but so are all the other like 3,000 miniatures that you bought that you thought were absolutely gorgeous and you had to have as well. And I think there's almost this realization that once you've actually got stuff, it's like, oh, yeah, it's gone now. It's like, yeah, like I really wanted to visit this such and such a place, and now I'm here. It's like, oh yeah, it's really nice. I'm having a good time, but the looking forward to it was almost better than the arrival, if you like. Al says, hype train goes chugga chug. It's amazing being on board. VJ says, my Ford just doesn't mow anymore. I've really reined it back now. I tend not to get involved. I mean, I can still get involved in the hype train. I can still get excited about something coming, but I don't have the fear of missing out. I'm definitely on the case of, if I don't get it, I don't get it kind of thing. If it was never meant to be type of thing. I'm a big believer in, if you really want it, you'll make sure that you're available at 10 o'clock and all that kind of stuff. You'll do everything you can. You'll make sure that you get your hands on one. And for me, it's just, if I miss out, I miss out. That's just how it is. Lee says, definitely explaining me. I bought Star Wars Legion and never played. Everyone else was jumping in, so thought I should too. I think this is the thing. Everybody dives in at the start and they all buy the new thing and they might play a couple of games, and then there's that realization of, oh, look at that other shiny thing over there. Look at this new game that's coming. And I was terrible for it years ago. I would literally sort of jump from game to game without even really playing them. These days, certainly nowhere near as bad as I was. I like to play lots of different games, but I just seen that you'll all see it in a second when it comes up. There it is. Or it will do, sorry. What was this one? Busey, you've seen you're only allowed on the hype train if you're wearing rose-tinted glasses. You need to keep them on as well, I think, mate, sometimes. VG says, all games die without ongoing support. That's the problem. There it was, yeah. Andrew Fairbanks, thank you for the donation, mate. It says, Curse City, you all get on the hype train before GW scrubs it from the website. That one still baffles me to this day. It's almost like you're not allowed to say Curse City anymore. It's like Voldemort. You're not allowed to say that. It was so weird, that whole thing. VJ, that what you're saying about games die without ongoing support. That's the problem with a lot of Kickstarter games. I don't entirely agree with that. I think games die when people don't play them. So basically, I can have a game on my shelf over there, and me and my gaming friend might be the last two people on earth playing that game. Nobody else might be playing it. Nobody might care about it. Nobody might give a toss about it. But if we're still playing it, the game's not dead. And I think games live and die by players, by hobbyists, and by communities. And regardless of whether a company is still releasing stuff for it, I think that's almost. I mean, it keeps the interest high in it, and it keeps the visibility of the game high. But as long as people are playing it, then the game isn't dead. Busey says, "Let me set up the overhead projector for this." Yes, mate. Lord Maiden, good evening, mate. How you doing? He said the chase is better than the catch. Yes, I believe I did say that later on. Busey says, can we compare this to what it would look like with Curse City? It basically just fell off a cliff. However, in reality, if I go back to it a second, actually, if I go back to it, essentially, it still went through this. For some people, like me, that downward slide just went straight off the bottom because I played it and I didn't enjoy it. However, a lot of people are still playing and still enjoying it. So again, as I said before, as long as people are playing it, the game's not dead. There might not be any new releases for it. There might be nothing kind of new to talk about. But if folks are enjoying it, the game isn't dead. Lee says, buyer's remorse sounds like me too. I also go along with games my mates do, but I really don't have time for it all. I don't think anybody has time for it all, mate. As long as you... I mean, I've got to be careful here because I don't want to say that people are wrong to be buying things. It is your money, it is your hobby, and you buy whatever the hell you like. Don't let anybody tell you you're wrong. However, if people are having buyer's remorse, if they're having regret once they've bought it, I want to kind of shine a little bit of a light on that and maybe try and help them to make wiser choices, really, because I don't want anybody spending money on stuff that they like. It's like that kind of like a bit of a shopaholic. This need to just buy new things but not really do anything with them. That's when it becomes a bit of a problem. David, good evening, mate. He says the Trough of Disillusionment is the name of my Smashing Pumpkins cover band. Nostuck says 2 months of stuff for that in White Dwarf does not really count as support. No, and it's not support, mate, because those White Dwarf articles were written before they decided to kind of to never speak of it again, really. PJ says Trough of Disappointment. That's what my wife calls the bedroom. You can never beat a Venn diagram, all clearly, mate. Nostix says, don't worry, tell her the plateau of productivity is coming. Christian sharing the link for the OG t-shirts there as well. Thank you, Christian. Palmsy says, I think it depends on what aspect of the hobby you're into. If you're into buying to paint and build, buy what you want. If you're buying to play, you need to bet on whether a game you will buy will catch on. I agree, mate, and like I said before, I think even people who just buy to paint still get caught up in the hype and still end up with a load of boxes of stuff that they never ever paint. And that's all I'm trying to say. As I said before, I'm not telling anybody not to buy anything, but just kind of, if you keep buying things and keep regretting it, maybe it's time to kind of have another look at it. VG says, having built Armada, Dead Zone, Kings of War in the last month, I'm off the hype train and fully focused on getting stuff to the table now. Sunday Psych, thank you very much, my friend. He says, buy yourself a ticket for the next hype train on me. Woo woo. Thank you very much. Nostog says, I quite like it when a game comes back around and you have everything ready for it. There is that as well. Like, Tim says, like Warcry. Hello, Tim, by the way. He says, it seems to die after the Catacombs release. Again, I disagree. I don't think it's died, mate. I think the pandemic didn't help. People weren't really playing games. Catacombs came out at a point when nobody was playing. And I think that certainly didn't help it. but people are still playing Warcry. People that enjoy playing Warcry are still playing Warcry. There was meant to be, but it's been moved. There was meant to be an event that this weekend just gone that James Bray was going to attend. Unfortunately, they had to move the date of it. But I think people think if it's not being talked about on the internet, and if you're not seeing it being played in your local area, then a game must be dead. And there are so many games that, like, they've got really sort of tight-knit, kind of committed communities that are just happily plodding on and painting their stuff and playing their games and having fun with it. And they're not constantly kind of, they're maybe not the most competitive games, so people are not like constantly talking about list building. There maybe hasn't been anything new released for them for a while. But sometimes that's not a bad thing. It just means the game's in a stable place. Sunday Sykes says the hype for 2nd edition X-Wing was huge here, and in the last 18 months it's just vanished. Again, mate, I think that is a perfect example of a game that relies upon face-to-face play. And yes, I know people play on Tabletop Simulator and stuff, but it's not the same. And people certainly don't post in community groups and Facebook groups about how exciting their game of on Tabletop Simulator was so much. Fiji says, I'm interested in Lunchbox Rainbow with Carnage and Mysterio, but now knowing that the releases aren't limited, I'll be able to pick them up later. Yeah, they've never been limited, mate. I mean, they sometimes sell out quite quick for certain things, but they get republished. They come back out again. It's not like kind of they're not one and done. Where was I up to here? Palmsy saying Public Enemy said it best. Don't believe the hype. Exactly, mate. I would have used that as a title, but I've already used that for a title once. Ian says life has taught me not to get excited about much unless you are building it yourself. It feels a little bit defeatist that to not get excited about stuff, mate. I think it's healthy to get excited about stuff. I think it's just it's where do you draw the line between getting dragged along with everybody else purely because you think that's what everybody else is talking about, and when are you genuinely hyped for something because you are genuinely excited. I was really excited for Curse City. It was everything from a theme point of view, from the miniatures, from the kind of the idea of the game, solo play, sort of set with like sort of vampires and wolves and all that kind of stuff and zombies. It was exactly what I wanted. It's just that unfortunately we never got to see any gameplay before the game launched, and it didn't live up to what did it live up to the hype? Maybe it didn't even live up to the hype. Maybe it certainly didn't live up to my expectations, and I was disappointed with it, unfortunately. But I was hyped for the game. I was always going to buy that game, and I'm glad I bought it. I'm just disappointed that it didn't turn out to be what I wanted it to be. Andrew says, I think the deciding factor for hype now is collective action. I want a group ticket for the train, knowing there'll be people next to me I can game with after the hype. Again, as I mentioned before, mate, I think this is the problem, is that sometimes all those people that are excited for it are not necessarily excited for it once they get it in their hands, because a lot of the time you're almost buying blind a little bit. I think this, like the new Kill Team, I think is a prime example. I don't think we're going to see any gameplay footage of that prior to its release. We might do if Ash Barker gets his hands on it early and manages, like as he always does, to kind of get it all sort of built and painted. But generally what happens, although I know it did change recently, the pre-orders go live at 10 o'clock, and that's what time the folks are allowed to upload their videos and have everybody to see them. So unfortunately, if you're in the UK, those videos go live at the exact moment that you need to be pre-ordering it, otherwise you won't get your hands on one. And I think there's a lot of, I feel that that's wrong. I feel that's wrong. They do a similar thing with video games, where basically they keep a lot of the reviews back until it's actually launched, so you can't actually find out what people think of it. It's always a little bit worrying that. Blizz says GW hype doesn't do it for me anymore. All I see is the same old, and I'm immediately turned off by it. I think I'm getting a little bit kind of immune to it now as well. Kill Team is a prime example, really. I've been through the phases of couldn't really sort of care less about it, to there's some interesting stuff in there, actually I might still take a look at it, to actually there seems to be a lot of interest in it, it'll be good for channel content, that kind of stuff. And then I've read more about it as it's gone on, and I've went, nah, I know for a fact it's not what I want to play, so why even bother, kind of thing. So I feel like I'm a little bit immune to that hype now, but I know lots of people are. There'll be people sitting watching this now, whether you're watching it on replay or whether you're watching it live now. There'll be people who are absolutely hyped for Kill Team, and probably don't really know why. They think that that's what everybody's talking about at the minute, so they should be hyped about it as well. And Sunday Sykes saying the same thing about as well, about what keeps him off the hype is the idea of not having anyone to play. This is exactly my point about games like Marvel, like Kings of War, like Star Wars Legion, is if you get into those games now, people have been playing those games for some time. If those people are playing and enjoying them games, they're not likely to drop them like a hot potato in the next couple of weeks. Where you don't know that. I mean, I know people always say, oh, well, it's a GW game, there'll always be somebody to play. I could never get a game of Kill Team anywhere. Like when I was playing it before, we had a couple of lads who would come to my house and play it, but we kind of house ruled it. But we never, like, there was never anybody locally playing. Like Shadespire, for example, like Underworld, so the first one that came out, my entire games club was playing it when it first launched. Within a matter of weeks, it was dead in the water and nobody was playing it. So just because it's GW and just because other people are interested at launch doesn't mean they'll still be there playing it in a month's time or whatever. Hope Lives says, when you splurge on a big box you're never going to play, paint them all or really neatly and quickly, and you dip into them years later when you're in the mood, your painting has improved. Which is fine until that pile of plastic or part painted plastic becomes basically a little bit unwieldy and basically is just taking up space in boxes. If you're getting enjoyment from stuff, like if you're buying something to paint it and enjoy it, then that's great. But if that was why we did it, we wouldn't buy something new until we painted the last thing. So that's why I think it's generally just we get caught up in the hype, we get caught up in the excitement, and we buy things almost for that dopamine hit of, I need some new stuff. I know I haven't played that game, and I know I haven't built that model, and I know I haven't finished painting this one yet, but it's this dopamine hit of like, I need something new, I need something new. I've purposefully stopped myself on 2 or 3 occasions from buying more Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff until I finish painting what I've got. When I went to play my first games, I went to a game store and I did buy a couple of models while I was there, because one, they sort of like, there was a good store discount, they were right there in front of me, and there were a couple of models that I wanted to paint, so I did buy some, which was Hulk and the Deadpool box. But I've literally I've had stuff in my basket online, and then I've took it out and I've just said no. The local store recently had a big sale on, and they were discounting quite a few things just to try and kind of clear the shelves and make some shelf space to buy some new stuff in. And I put stuff in my basket and I took it out because I'm stopping myself from buying more stuff until I've painted what I've got, just for that particular game, because that's my hobby game. That's the thing that I'm playing kind of sort of on the side, if you like, and I've not gotten as many games in as I would have liked to do with things like the European Championships when I was watching games and sort of working, doing live streams and things and family stuff on weekends. I haven't gotten as many games of it in as I would like to, but I plan to. I plan to play more, and when I do play, everything will be painted. Kevin Mohammed, good evening, Kevin. Says, how about Hype Train for painting minis? I feel bad with all my unpainted stuff. Hi, Kevin. Yeah, I think as I said before, there's nothing wrong with getting excited about stuff. There's nothing wrong with painting stuff. But if you're buying way more than you're doing anything with, that's the point where you start to think, did I really want that when I bought it? If I was so excited for it, if I was so excited to paint that model, why haven't I built and painted it? Why have I started painting it and then given up halfway through, for example? And I think it's just healthy to look at your hobbies like that sometimes. Deep Red, hail and well met. So, I think I'm too old for hype, but every once in a while something comes along. I think we all do it, mate. Yeah, it's nothing to feel bad about. Blizzard is saying, courtesy to the AOS version of Shadow War Armageddon. Yeah. Nostock says, only they went back and released that all separately. I don't know what we're talking about there, mate. Yorgam says, I'm still looking forward to playing Curse City. Just have to finish painting the minis. Yeah, that was my personal feeling about it, mate. I hope everybody else absolutely loves it. I think I'm going to sell mine, to be honest. I built the models. I haven't stuck them to the bases because I was going to make some resin bases for them. But I've built them. I've played it. It's not for me. It's not my kind of game. But I'm sure it's exactly somebody else's kind of game. So I'll probably end up just selling mine on, I think. John says, my hype train seems to be run by British Rail. So much promise, so little delivered. It's never on time, mate, is it? Christian sharing the link there as well for the t-shirts, the merch. Thank you very much, Christian. Deep Red says, War Monster is a good example of a game that on the surface appears dead and yet still has a strong following and managed to attract new players. Look at what happened with Blood Bowl before GW decided to relaunch it. Look what happened with Necromunda. Look what happened with Warhammer Fantasy Battles with the ninth age community and stuff. Look at what's happening now with Guild Ball as well, with the Guild Ball community project. As long as people are playing a game, even if it's 2 people, that game is not dead. Lee says, I'm learning to buy when I'm ready for new stuff now. I do fancy a new game, but I'm waiting until I paint 2 Blood Bowl teams and 10 more characters for Marvel. It won't be the latest game though. Yeah, honestly, I think you're kind of wise there, what you're saying as well, about choosing a game that you want to get involved with. There's something to be said about diving into a game that's already established. If there's a local community playing the game, it's a perfect time to dive in because you've got local people who are actively enjoying and playing that game and kind of help you into it. Sometimes getting on the ground floor with a new game is never a bad thing. But in 2 months' time, when you realise everybody else has moved on, there's nothing more frustrating than sinking sort of a few £100 into something to find out that nobody wants to play anymore. VG says, not seeing gameplay videos before release is pretty much an instant no from me now. Yeah, me too, mate, I think. He says, I'm not really worried about what other people think, but if I can't see something for me to make up my own mind, I think what I think of a rule set, then I'm not pulling the trigger. I've been burnt too many times. Yeah, you and me both, fella. Elysian, are we trained now to relate marketing, advertising and new releases to a game being dead or alive? I'm currently trying to get Marvel a bigger following locally. It's not dead, but outsiders won't see that. I think it's actually, from what I can see, mate, because I'm involved with you and with the local guys, I think it's thriving, really. I think there's a good community there playing. It might be fractured a little bit because people play on different days, but I think it's like it's people are enjoying it, people are playing, they're excited, they're signing up for events, they're traveling to play, there's games going on every week, and I think that's healthy. It's just that it's never going to be the size of 40k, for example. And I think maybe you've played games like AOS where you see the whole club playing AOS, or you've played Blood Bowl where you see loads of people playing it. I think the difference with things that are not GW stuff, you can see like a small number of people playing it and think that, or maybe that the game's not that popular, nobody plays it. But I think like, locally, if you've got sort of 8 or 10 people playing a game, it just in one area, that's pretty well supported, and you'll get these 10-12 man tournaments kind of like happening. I remember seeing it from my War Machine days with the guys that are playing Marvel now. There was probably about 10-12 of us playing War Machine on a regular basis, but we travelled all over the country together, going to events and stuff, and we had our own little like local tournaments, and I love playing the game, and like I say, it's one of those things where as long as people are playing it, the game's not dead. Lord Maiden says, the difference with video games is you don't want the special edition stuff, and it's well known you can wait. You can always seem to get a hold of a video game. To be honest, mate, you can generally always get a hold of a miniatures game. It's just these GW box sets that people get themselves kind of get their knickers in a twist about, really. Like, for example, if you don't get the Kill Team box set, you can still buy the bits that are in the box separately later on. Now let's take out of the fact that it's going to be more expensive. That's like them releasing like a starter box, like a discounted starter box, if you like. It's the same with like the Dominion box. If you couldn't get your hands on the Dominion box, and I know there's some left, but then they brought out the starter boxes for 3rd edition, which on those like 3 different like price levels. So I think people seem to think they have to buy everything that GW releases. And sometimes these things are limited release, because what they're doing is they're generating hype, they're generating excitement about it. They want everybody to get sort of stuck into it. Sometimes you're better off saving your money and later on down the line either buying a second-hand copy when somebody's had enough and like they basically don't want to play it anymore. Or if you're going to get stuff kind of discounted online, you might find that you don't need to buy all of the things that were in the starter box. You don't need both armies. You don't need the terrain because you already have terrain. You don't need the mat because you've already got the mat. So you just buy the rule book, and you might buy like, I don't know, you just buy the rule book and you've got the other stuff that you need. So I think sometimes people get hung up on the fact that they think they have to buy everything that comes out, and it's just not the case. Andrew says, yeah, considering I'm not likely to get the box and everything at a discount, I'm feeling less interested in it. See, you're getting a discount on everything in the box, but do you really want everything in the box? That's the kind of the key question. Or are you just buying it because you're kind of conditioned to think, oh, but it's cheap, but I'm getting it cheaper. Highlander. Yes, mate. Most of the time, give it 6 to 12 months and they usually start going down in price. Video games certainly do, because again, what's happening is people are moving on to the next big thing. Like when I was a kid, when I used to buy video games, I couldn't afford to buy another one really until I'd saved up for it. So what I did was I would play the game I'd bought. I would absolutely play it to death. Like when I was like kind of 16, 17, I was buying like Mega Drive cartridges. They were like 40 quid a shot. And I had a Saturday job where I got paid £16 for a day's work. So I could afford to buy probably a game every month if you like. That was it. So I would buy a game and I would absolutely play it to death. I would play it every day. I'd play it like for the entire month, if you like, until I could get my hands on something else. And then I wouldn't buy something every month if it was a game that was a bit bigger. But as I got older and I had more disposable income, I was buying like 2 games at a time, or I'd buy something and play it 2 or 3 times and think, it's not really for me kind of thing, and just go and buy something else. And you get caught up in the hype with video games as well. Like these days, because I hardly play video games, I've not bought a new game in forever. I'll get a free trial for Game Pass or something like that and play something on the weekend when I fancy playing some games, or I'll wait until the sale comes on and there might be a game that I really fancied like a year ago and now it's like 30% of the price. So like these days, I do it with video games. I don't get caught into the kind of latest hype. Generally, I did for Cyberpunk, but yeah, generally I don't get caught into the latest hype, and I play video games so infrequently now because I just don't have the time. I'm quite happy just to play one of my old games or something like that, and I think there's an element of that in miniature stuff. Palmsy says, what's interesting about video games is you have things like Metacritic, so you don't have to waste money on Mario Golf Super Rush. I guess you kind of have that. You kind of have that as well, though. To be fair, when it comes to miniatures games, to play those games, you've just got to have a look in the community and see what people are saying about it. Really. Vijay says Underworld Shadespire was good. Night Vault was okay, but for me it was dead by the end of the Night Vault cycle. The only reason I have Beast Rave was because it won it in a competition. For me, mate, locally, Shadespire died almost as quickly as it come out. I remember buying the Sepulchral Guard and the Orcs, and I bought the Rats. I forget what they were called now, and the Dwarfs as well, the Fire Slayer Dwarfs. But it was dead in my area. I didn't buy Night Vault at all, and I bought Beast Grave. It's on my shelf there, and I've never played it. I wanted to get back into it, just nobody to play it with. So, yeah. What was this one again? What was a question? There was something there. VG was just saying. Where was it up to here? Oh, that was it. There are cheaper ways to get dopamine hits than buying GW games. There's cheaper. Let's not kind of say this is all about GW, because GW are not the most expensive games company. There are other games companies out there who are selling miniatures at exactly the same price or just as much as GW stuff. It's just that GW releases a lot of big boxes. So things like the Snaggers box, things like the new Kill Team box, things like the Dominion box. I think people get suckered into those big boxes and they think, oh, I'm getting loads of minis, and then never do anything with them. Other companies are selling boxes just as expensive as well. Marcus, hello mate, how are you doing? Marcus says, European Championship, tell me more. I went to, I don't know if that was it me we were talking about. I went to the European Team Championships for War Machine. I also went to the UK Championships as well. Yeah, I used to go to loads, travel all over for War Machine stuff. Lee says, well done Andy, I'm not buying models when the discount landed. I bought MODOK, Hulk, Ghost Rider and Beast. Discount was so good, but I've built them all now. I need to paint them. Yeah, I must admit, mate, I did kind of look when you mentioned it online. I did go straight on the website, put a few things in the basket, and it was just like, look, just don't get carried away. Like I might be saving a little bit of money, but like, am I ever going to play these? Am I buying stuff because they're cheap rather than buying the affiliations that I actually want? Just finish painting what you've got. Like, I know for a fact I'm struggling to get games in at the minute with things like, I'm going away this weekend, for example, to the UK Games Expo. I'm away next weekend with the family for a bit of, like, we're going away for 3 nights to have a bit of a weekend, like a holiday thing. I work Mondays, I work Wednesdays doing live streams. It's hard to kind of to fit in kind of as much time as I would like at the moment with, like, holiday season and stuff like that and the expo. But I will get there, and when I get back to playing, I'll have all my painted stuff. That's what I want to do. In saying that, I try and get my stuff painted, because when I'm at the expo at the weekend and I can physically see it, because I know Zatu Games are at the expo, they're bound to have some Marvel stuff. So yeah, I might treat myself while I'm away. Anima says, being short on money helps a lot to manage or kill the hype. I mean, obviously it does by default. However, I think it can make people feel like they're not part of the community, unfortunately, and they shouldn't. Like, people shouldn't feel like they have to buy everything. And it's one thing saying, well, I'd really like it, but I can't afford it. It's another thing saying, like, oh, like I have to have it. What can I sell to get my hands on this? Because I need it to kind of feel part of the gang, if you like. I love it when Andy earnestly reads the response to someone else. It's because I start reading it and then I realise it's aimed at somebody else. VJ says, I wouldn't mind trying it War Master, especially if I can print my own stuff. You can print your own stuff for any game these days, mate. Ian says, I think if companies embraced more fan-ran balanced rules updates, smaller games would have more staying power. I think the problem is, mate, is it's really, so when we're talking about like fan balancing stuff, who says it's right? Because I think with Blood Bowl as an example, there was like kind of like a committee almost set up, wasn't there, to basically like to run that, and they were like maybe self-appointed, maybe community appointed, but there was somebody appointed to kind of to look after that, if you like, and balance the game out. The problem is if you just leave it to the community, like that could be hundreds or could be thousands of people. How do you ever get sort of a decision? How do you ever get like consensus with that kind of stuff? I think the closest thing we've got are games like a lot of what Mantic do with things like Kings of War, where they have like a rules committee which tend to be made up of a member of Mantic staff kind of guiding the direction, if you like, and then a lot of kind of really kind of sort of influential kind of players who have applied to be part of that rules committee. I think that's the closest we probably get. Mini Warmut, hello. Says, buy the hype, and then when you wallow in regret or bored with your minis, join us miniature agnostic games players like 5 parsecs from home. This has always been my point about miniature agnostic games, and I think when I talked about them before, I definitely got taken the wrong way. What I was saying was, if you're only getting into miniature agnostic games because you can use any minis, you can literally get into any game you want because you can use any minis. Because if you're, let's say 5 parsecs, let's take that one. If you're going to play 5 parsecs from home with your mate because you've got 40k minis, you can play any game you want with 40k minis. Like, there's loads of sort of games out there that you could use. That doesn't mean that I'm saying that people should play other games and ignore miniature agnostic ones. I got contacted recently by the guys from One Page Rules, asking if I wanted to kind of do like some kind of like video with them kind of thing. They would send me over the Patreon version of their rules, if you like, and some miniature files to take a look at, and I could kind of sort of give my opinion on it. So my 3D printer is actually busy printing off one of those files right now. I had a quick look through some of the rule sets, and their rule sets look really good. My problem has always been with them is that I haven't got anybody to play with. I haven't got that one sort of regular gaming friend who I play with week in, week out, who would say, yes, I'll play that obscure rule set with whatever minis we've got. I tend to kind of, like Lee, who's in the chat, and I'll tend to go to like a local club or go to a local gaming store, and I'll play rules that are kind of, that have a game attached with them, if you like, a miniature range attached with, because I know I can just go and get that game somewhere. It doesn't mean I ever thought that those kind of the rules were bad. I think I was kind of taken out of context a little bit from that stream. Otion, hello, says, I spend way too much time researching games, but it does help reduce my spend. I don't think there's anything wrong with researching games at all. I think, unfortunately, a lot of the times companies won't send out things early enough for people to give their opinions in case they influence anyone. Like, for example, if a company sends me a game and says you can't release anything about it until after it launches, I'm always a little bit hesitant about that. I would tend just to say, oh no, it doesn't matter then. Basically, if you're putting a deadline on it, like, it's always saying we don't want you to talk about it until X date, and then the game goes live a month later or something like that. It's because when we want it to fall in line with when we're talking about the game. I understand that. That's just part of their marketing machine, if you like. But if they don't want me to talk about it until after the game's released, I tend not to bother with those ones. Sunday Sykes says there's a crossover between the games you are hyped for and what is played in your area and what you can get your friends into. It's a bit of a skill, find that sweet spot. It depends upon your gaming group. A lot of it depends on the people you play with, I would agree. Vijay says, I personally enjoy researching games on YouTube. It's almost a hobby in itself. Yeah, I agree with that, mate, to be fair. It's how I get excited about things. Like, that's how I got back into Malifaux. It's how I got into Kings of War, really. It's how I got back into Marvel, or how I got into Marvel. It's I kind of research it and I look into it that way. Andrew says, I think barrier to entry is another deciding factor. Dead Man's Hand, for example, where you get 2 full gangs and rules for 40 quid, you aren't going to be stung even if it dies. Definitely worth a punt. Yeah, and I don't agree. I don't disagree with that. Sorry, mate. The problem for me is buying into some of these niche games without somebody willing to play with me means I'm essentially just chucking money down the pan, really, because I might as well have spent that on something that I can play with somebody else. I love painting minis. I absolutely love just sitting and kind of painting stuff. And some games I will buy purely just because I think I'm going to enjoy painting these minis, really. But yeah, just because something's cheap as well, like you say, if it's 40 quid's worth of minis and you're just going to paint them and enjoy it, that's absolutely fine. But if you're buying into a game system, you need someone to play with. Lee says, yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. Inside our chats and Facebook group, it's thriving. However, folks that follow Twitter and Warhammer community plus hobby mainstream might think Marvel is dead. I guess it doesn't really matter to them, mate. If they're playing something else, I wouldn't really worry about it. It's a funny one, and Lee saying that I did before I reached out. Yeah, it's a funny one, mate. It's the same thing happened when I kind of reached out about like sort of Mantic stuff in the local area, about trying to set up like a Mantic group, because I thought surely there can't be just me who plays the games or who enjoys playing the games. Sure enough, like this 60 odd or 70 people joined up to a Facebook group, so it proved that it wasn't just me. But yeah, I think people have this opinion that if they're not seeing it all over YouTube, then it must mean that nobody plays it. And I think what people forget about when it comes to YouTube is people tend not to make videos that don't get many views. So if I was to make a video about a really obscure rule set that not many people play, it'll get a few views because I've got a sort of a decent sized following, if you like. But it won't do as well as a video if I made a video about Kill Team, for example, because Kill Team anybody searching for Kill Team on YouTube would find my video as well. That's why some of my videos do really well, and some of my videos which don't have a catchy title or don't have a game that everybody's heard of, they don't do so well. But what I'm doing is very different. I'm kind of trying to cover some of the lesser known games. I'm intentionally only talking about the things that I'm interested in, and so I'm not just about the views. But some games, for example, like you just never really hear about them on YouTube. You never, even if you search for them, sometimes the people making those videos don't necessarily know the best way to kind of tag their videos and title their videos so that they come up in search. So there might be loads of videos online, but they just never ever get found because they've not been sort of structured correctly. Nostock says, I wish someone had not mentioned Shadow War. I've just dug out the rulebook. That'll be another project reboot. Pomsy said, first job I had, I got paid £1 an hour. I got paid £1.90 an hour for my first ever job, mate. That was what I got paid. Andrew says, well, I collect every army in 40k, so I tend to need everything from the box. After 5 years, I reached a point where I only need an AOS box if there's a new army. I couldn't get my head around collecting every army. That would send me nuts, I think. Vijay saying, yeah, agreed, having a gaming buddy is crucial to feeling free to experiment with new and less popular games. 100%, mate, yeah, 100%. Marco says, did we mention that Kickstarter thrives on hype? I did kind of touch on it, mate, when I was talking about sort of exclusive minis and kind of back it on the first day and that type of stuff. But Kickstarter is basically just one huge hype machine, and it relies upon the people that are excited about it creating more hype by trying to get more people excited about it. It's like that's how Kickstarter works. Companies rely upon the early adopters, if you like, to hype everybody else up about it and see how excited they are and look how much you're getting and everybody should come on board kind of thing. Unfortunately, what tends to happen with a lot of those Kickstarters is once that Kickstarter is funded, you don't never hear another thing until the game ships. Excuse me. Jacob, hello, mate. Paul Inman, hello, fella. How you doing? Paul saying there, Kickstarter is essentially a social media platform. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Actually, I think to an extent it definitely is. Though I mean, those comments in the community things end up being they either become like just an echo chamber of everybody being really excited about stuff, or it ends up being a place where people come to vent about past experiences. Where are we up to? Lord Novus, hello to you, mate. Nostalgia saying Kickstarter is my tiny Epic Games pre-order platform. Is it really? Was that where you've been getting your stuff from? I think I must have skipped ahead a little bit there. Let me just let me scroll back a bit and see if I can dive back in where we're up to. VJ saying Blitzball doesn't need his hype. ER910, hello fella, how are you doing? Spike Claws Swarm, that was them, mate. Tasty Brandon says, just got back from New Orleans and doing MechaCon. Thank you very much, mate, for sharing your pictures in the Facebook group. It looked like you had an awesome weekend. I hope you did. Nostock says, I have a problem. The problem is Warhammer Underworlds. I have all of it and cannot stop. He says, I hope you'll be able to stay away for the rest of the stream. You deserve a rest, mate, after that weekend, I assume. Stu is having a chat there as well. Visions, mind you, if they do a Clan Skyer warband or Squig Riders. Yeah. Deep Red says, I'm Deep Red and I'm a Dark Elf addict. God, get my coat. Nothing wrong with that, mate. There's nothing wrong with having a passion and kind of and buying stuff for that passion. Underworld's minis being usable in AOS and being a vector for small batch mini releases are great bonuses. It makes them useful for non-Underworld players. I'm hoping Kill Team will be a similar vector for small batch sci-fi mini release. I can see them releasing boxes of Kill Team specific stuff. So the way they're releasing the Commandos and the Veteran Guard stuff, they'll release them as separate boxes as well, and I think we'll start to see that, I think, in the future with these kind of like pre-made kill teams, if you like. Sunday Sykes says, I remember when I was a kid, actually just before I could move on, I think that's one of the reasons that they're making the list building the way it is, where you can only have like say one flamer, is because the sprue will only come with one flamer. So I think they're kind of building those kill teams so that you can get a kill team from a box. I think that's part of it. I think there's an element of sort of production in what they're doing as well, as opposed to sort of like trying to limit what you can take. I think it's almost, you can only take one flamer because you only get one flamer in a box. Sunday like I remember when I was a kid, my friends would get games we couldn't afford. I'd get excited and wish we could get it. But by then the excitement would pass and I'd realise it wasn't really missing out. Happens a lot, mate. It happens a lot. I remember being a kid and like we didn't have much money. I was like my mum and dad kind of sort of saved and scraped together to get a Spectrum when all my friends had Commodore 64s. It was all we could afford at the time. Commodores were the more expensive computer, and I was kind of gutted a little bit that my friends had sort of games that I couldn't borrow from them, I couldn't share from them, that kind of thing. But then I made new friends because there were other kids in my school who had the same computer that I did, and that feeling of missing out on getting the Commodore very quickly wore off, if you like. Yeah, so it's just how it pans out sometimes, isn't it? Where are we up to here? Nostock says, yeah, one-page rules, my ears pricked up. Yes, mate, yes, definitely. Ian says, yeah, I was thinking fan committee. If the changes are good, committee tournament leaders will adopt them, give feedback. It should pan out if people are level-headed. I think it almost, the problem is it becomes a bit of a full-time job for people, because and I don't think they always get the thanks that they deserve because of it, really. Where are we up to here? Yeah, Ian saying one page rules is great. I'm a big fan. It says it basically started as a fan project. Could almost be seen as an example of what I was suggesting. Kind of, except it's not necessarily a fan project anymore. It's kind of there's a company behind it and people are paying money, so it's. I know what you mean though. Nostalgic says it's definitely that if you have buddies to play, it's good. If you rock up in a store, good luck. Yeah, exactly. Vijay saying agreed. Having a gaming buddy is crucial to feeling free to experiment. That was where I'd got back up to, wasn't it? Andrew says YouTube is a goddamned hype train. It can be, mate. I try not to feed into that machine too much myself. There obviously are things that I'm excited about, and sometimes I'll lean into those things because I know they're getting more views than other videos. And it's like YouTube's a fickle beast. Like my business, if you like, works upon getting more eyes to see what I'm doing and trying to encourage people to support what I'm doing through Patreon and through donations and stuff like that. And if I only talk about obscure games all the time, I will get a very, very small audience, and then YouTube basically says, "Oh, this channel's dying. We'll stop sharing these videos out. Nobody watches them anymore." So it's helpful for me and necessary to sometimes throw those big games in there just to kickstart that algorithm again and get it moving again, so that I can then go back and start to talk about some of the smaller things again. It's a fine balance. Honestly, it's like I could talk about that kind of stuff all night. Ice Moon says, I'm just off 2 Kickstarters where the comments just devolved into 3 or 5 heavily disgruntled backers. Yeah, honestly, I've seen that happen a lot. It happened a lot with the Steamforge stuff after Guild Ball ended. Pretty much the comments in their Kickstarter stuff was just disgruntled Guild Ball players for quite some time. Christian, good night, mate. Thanks very much for helping out tonight. Vijay says Commodore's still the better system. I'm not going to argue with me. It definitely was. It's just that I couldn't afford it. Yeah, pretty sure we already had this on Discord. We definitely did, mate. Sonnet Sykes says, I like your channel, Andy, because you're pretty grounded in your opinion and you review things outside the major hype topics. I would love to only ever cover those kind of sort of slightly more obscure ones, or the ones that don't get covered very often, or like sort of those unusual stuff. Like, for example, I read a book this weekend just gone. I kind of took some time to just on my Kindle sit out in the sunshine, like relax, not do any work, not kind of like sort of play games and stuff. And the book I read was The Last Hurrah, which is actually a Dreadball kind of based book. So it's written by a company called Winged Hussar, and it is a novel about like Dreadball, if you like. And the book was really, really good. I kind of posted something in the Facebook group and I kind of give like a little mini review, so I give it a solid 8 out of 10. And it's the kind of thing I would love to do as a video review. I would love to kind of do a bit of a book review of something like that, because it bridges the gap. We all like to kind of read stuff and things and get into the kind of the background and in the world behind the game and stuff. But I know for a fact that video would at best do like 100 views. It would absolutely like kill any momentum that I get on YouTube. I'd lose some subscribers because people go, oh, 40 did miniature games, now he's doing book reviews and stuff. I would love to cover more obscure stuff, but I honestly think I'm just not big enough at the minute to kind of to be able to do that on a more regular basis. So I do have to balance it out, but I still kind of keep my belief in I'm only going to cover stuff that I'm interested in. I'd never talk about something that I wasn't interested in. Tasty Brain Drain says, you're welcome. Yes, it was an awesome show. Bittersweet because it was the last one, but we ended the convention on a high. I didn't realise it was the last one, mate. I'm sorry to hear that. It looks like everyone had a really good time. Lord Maiden, I wish I was sensible. Paul says, fun fact, Winged Hussar were my all-time favourite Warhammer fantasy unit. There you go, mate. Winged Hussar are a pretty good kind of... They're a publishing house basically, but they do a lot of like historical stuff, like kind of World War II books and things like that as well. A little bit like Osprey, I guess. But they also have authors who write sort of novels based upon game worlds. So they did some novels for Wild West Exodus a while ago. They've done a lot of stuff for Mantic, both on the fantasy and on the sci-fi side. I'm currently reading their book that's based on Armada at the moment. They've signed a deal to do Infinity novels, so they're going to be doing some of those soon as well. So I think I think we're going to hear a lot more from them in the future. VG says, still worth covering what GW are doing, even just to provide a counterpoint for what the smaller players are up to. You can't appreciate the light without experiencing the dark. To be honest, mate, yeah, for all, like, a lot of the GW stuff just doesn't really interest me. I think it's almost like I'm not doing my job if I don't at least kind of know what's going on, because, like, people come in, and just because I don't like it, or just because I'm not interested in it, doesn't mean people won't kind of ask my opinion on it, or it doesn't mean that people won't say, well, how does it compare to this game, or what do you think of these new rules, or what do you think of this new release? Do you think it compares to XYZ game or something like that? So I always try to keep abreast of it. I always try to at least have a knowledgeable sort of understanding of pretty much most of the games that's out there, really. I try to kind of hold as much in my head as I can do, really, at least to be able to have a conversation about them. But it doesn't mean I'm going to be making kind of in-depth videos or reviews about every single game. But I've managed to kind of, I've just done over a year now of doing this full time, so that's kind of awesome that I've managed to kind of pass through a year of doing this as my full-time career now. And the YouTube channel's almost 5 years old in November. And I would like to think that throughout those 5 years and throughout those 500 and something videos, I've only ever talked about things that I was genuinely passionate about and genuinely interested in, and I haven't just gone for the kind of the easy views, if you like. Sometimes it's easy just to regurgitate the news and just to kind of, like, you know, if you're the first one to kind of to talk about what's been on Warhammer Community today, you'll get a load of views out of it, but it's not where my interest is, really. Lord Maiden says, bring on the books. Which will BlackJack do first, War of the Worlds or do androids dream of electric sheep? No, I can't see me doing boot reviews. I would do boot reviews about miniatures games books, if you like the Wild West Exodus ones, Infinity stuff and things like that. And I like for example, I've been reading the Malifaux Through the Breach stuff. Just aeroplanes. You know, it's gone so long without hearing aeroplanes that now they're starting to fly again. It's weird when you hear them. You think, what the hell's that noise? I would definitely try to talk about books based around game universes and stuff like that. Sunday says, I'd watch you do book reviews, but I'm in the minority. We do need you to talk about GW as our voice of reason. Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately online there is generally two streams of thought when it comes to GW stuff. There are the absolute fans who pretty much universally love everything they do, and then there are the fans and the ex GW players who kind of hate everything they do regardless. And I think that there's very little in the middle. There's not many people who have a bit of a rounded view about it. There's a lot of people kind of get things sent for free and will continue to say, like, let's just say, filtered versions of what they really think in order to make sure that they keep getting stuff. Whereas I've intentionally never contacted them. I don't really want them to send me free stuff that I'm not interested in. I'd buy the stuff myself if I'm that interested. I bought Warcry, I bought Catacombs, I bought Curse City. Everything GW stuff I've got, I've bought it all myself. So that kind of entitles me to be able to just to say exactly what I want about it, really, but without fear of, like, oh well, they might not send me something next time. And every company who sends me stuff all understand that I'm going to be honest about it, and sometimes there's things that I won't like. Nostock says, are we nearing a fighting fantasy book playthrough at all? Yeah, I think we probably are, mate. I mean, again, they're another thing that don't... VGS says, thanks, that reminds me, cheers on the 1 year anniversary, mate. Thank you for your time and passion. I really appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. Yeah, what was I saying? Fighting Fantasy, yeah, it's another one of those things that they don't get a lot of views, but I know that there's a small portion of the community that are really kind of passionate about them, and I like to do them as well. So there was a Peter McKinnon video. I didn't see the whole video today, but I saw basically the title, and it was about, like, urgent content creators, like, make a video for you, like you might be doing a video for your audience, but make one that you want to make, like, once in a while as well. Keep the passion in there and keep the enjoyment. And I think, luckily, I've always managed to do the videos I want to do. They're not always popular, and other channels will grow faster than me and will go past me, especially especially when there's lots of news around the game that they particularly cover. But I'm happy with where I am, basically. Would I like to earn a little bit more money and make things a bit more comfortable? 100%. But yeah, I'm not starving. I'm not looking for food handouts just yet. Sunlit Sykes is on a totally different topic. I can see you're an ink lover. I'm finally getting my sleeve continued after 13 years. Super pumped. Love the look of your sleeve. Any story behind it? So, it started off, I had one tiny little tattoo on my shoulder there when I was 16. I got it done, and I never showed my parents. My parents never ever saw it until I was much, much older. So I got one tattoo there when I was 16. And then basically, I'd always wanted more tattoos. And I could never really decide. I could never really kind of knew what I wanted. I could never find what I wanted. And then I kind of came across this kind of Polynesian inspired stuff and decided that was what I wanted. So this first tattoo I got, which is basically up on my shoulder here, basically came down to here. So some of my older videos, you'll see that basically the tattoo ended sort of just above my elbow. And the reason I got it to there was because I had a bit of a corporate job, basically, you know, like sort of like boardroom stuff and meetings and customers, and it was kind of frowned upon to have tattoos. So it meant that if I wanted to roll my sleeve up, if it was hot, like roll my shirt sleeves up, I didn't want any tattoos on show at the time. So this tattoo, basically, I found somebody that was a really good kind of tattooist who was like, that was kind of his speciality, and we sat and talked, and he's put lots of things into here. So if you look at kind of Polynesian tattoos, all these little symbols and designs and swirls and like all of these little kind of sort of arrow things in here and these little things along the bottom and stuff, the numbers of those mean things. And like around the top here, there's these are meant to be like kind of like sort of people, and it represents like family, so there's the right number of people around it to represent my family and stuff like that. So yeah, so there's a bit of a story to it. And then once I decided I was leaving the job that I hated, it was like, screw it, I'm going to get some more done. So I got that done because I always thought I just wanted to kind of have it to there, but I'm considering going sort of down to my wrist now and probably do some more on here. I've got a little bit in here as well, and I've got a bit more up on there as well. So I do have a little bit more, but yeah, I think I'd get a bit more done. Tyler Pex is enjoying the show tonight, mate. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it. Vijay says money is tight at the minute, but I'd rather give something more lasting than the next hype train. That is hugely appreciated, mate. I will make sure it goes to a worthy cause. Once you get one, everyone wants more tattoos. Just finding the money and the design. It was the design for me, mate. Definitely. I obviously had a job where I could afford to pay for the tattoo, but I was still kind of surprised with how much they cost. I mean, I dread to think what I'd probably spent on this whole one now, but it's. I mean, some of it's quite old, but yeah, I think like this part here, this bottom bit, which goes right the way around, I got all of that done in one sitting, the whole thing, and I think it was about 6 or 7 hours sitting. That was quite sore. That it didn't half swell up that after that, getting that full thing done in one shot. Vijay says I'm getting some of mine touched up and getting some cover up jobs lined up when I get more money coming through. Yeah, they're not cheap, but they're the kind of thing where you It's worth paying a bit extra to make sure you get somebody who knows what they're doing, that's for sure. Sunlit Sykes says, it's an awesome piece of work. Keen to see it if you get more work done. Yeah, I definitely will, mate, at some point. The guy that I go to is he's moved tattooist. He's got his own place now, not too far away from me, and I kind of trust him. He does a good job. So yeah, I'll certainly get some more at some point. It's just the money side of things now, which is a bit more different. Tyler says, yeah, I got 3 tattoos. First one was a tribute to my dad who passed away. Got one significantly engagement date and another one for mental suicide awareness. That's really cool, mate. This one that's on, not on this one here, I should say, which is on the inside here, is kind of like the geographic location and the date of when me and my wife got married. But it looks more kind of unusual, really. So it's not instantly obvious kind of what it is, really. Sunday Sykes says the problem for me was I designed my shoulder myself years ago and lost the knack for it, so I had to find an artist who was comfortable designing the rest. Yeah, luckily all of mine have been done by the same guy, and like I say, he's a local guy, got his own place now, so at least I know as long as he's keep going, I can keep going back to the same artist. Ace of Spades Rob, good evening, mate. He says, you ever get down to Battle Bunker? Awesome space. I do from time to time, mate. it's more just about, I've got space here to play games. I've got loads of terrain and kind of mats and bits and pieces and miniatures, so I tend to play more stuff at home these days. But yeah, I do get down from this time to time. I just haven't been in a long time, mate. It is a good space though. VG says, can I tempt you for Blitzball this weekend? He can't, mate, because I'm away at the UK Games Expo all weekend. So unfortunately, mate, I'm not at home this weekend to play. And then next weekend, I'm away. I'm actually going to Blackpool for 3 days with my wife and my little boy. Obviously, we want to get a foreign holiday. We'd love to go away somewhere this year. I think we've kind of resigned ourselves to the fact that a foreign holiday is probably off the menu this year. So we're just going to have, like, through the summer with him being off school and stuff, we're just going to try and have a few little weekends away and stuff. And my wife's never been to Blackpool before, over on the West Coast. I used to go when I was a kid on holiday and stuff. So I want to just take him down to kind of have a proper, like, old traditional kind of English holiday, really. Like, go down to the pleasure beach on the fairground rides and take them onto the beach and ride donkeys and kind of play in the arcades and kind of get ice creams on the seafront and not play on the beach and that. So we're just going to do that for a few days. The weather report looks pretty good. So yeah, next weekend we're away. Where was this one? Tyler says, I proposed using a Mario box. That's part of a tattoo. That's really cool, mate. He's got some Mario VG's got some Mario tattoos as well and plan on getting more. Walter Black, hello, mate. He says, I'm working on my gaming setup at home. Lots of work, so worth it. It's hard waterproofing the walls, or yeah, we don't really have cellars so much in the UK, mate. Like, certainly not when you see these huge basements that they have over in the States and stuff. We tend not to have a lot of cellars. I don't know whereabouts you're based, mate, but yeah, this is my gaming space in here. It's nice to have a little bit of space and somewhere specifically kind of away from the house. Jess has got a few tattoos all designed by me. Got my chest done too, and I'm canny slim, so that wrecked. The most painful places for me were kind of into my armpit a little bit, like this bit of skin where it nips a little bit, and right on the top of my shoulder, right where the bone is. That was a bit uncomfortable. My elbow wasn't too bad when I got that done. That kind of, it just felt really weird. I think by the time I got to that part, I think I was pretty much just numb my arm. But yeah, it was that weird little kind of, this little piece in here, like where your armpit is, that really nipped a little bit. Lord Maiden says, can I tempt you with some role play on Thursday? No, you can't, mate, not this week, because I'm getting up mega early for Games Expo on Friday morning, and because I'm working tonight and I'm working on Wednesday night and then I'm away Friday and Saturday night, I'm taking my good lady and my little boy out for dinner on Thursday evening. So unfortunately, mate, no, I can't play on Thursday. VG says, enjoy the holiday. I'm always available thanks to lockdown. I definitely will, mate. We definitely need to sort a date out. In theory, the weekend after. So, like, not this one coming, not next weekend, but the weekend after, I should be free, I think. Sundance like says, I want to get a tattoo of a pair of stick figures having a sword fight, but one has a giant pen and he's winning. Orgion says, what's the background for being an LA Rams fan? I've loved American football probably since I was about 8 or 9. So when it first came on TV in the UK on Channel 4, so back in the days when we only really had 4 channels, it used to come on Channel 4 late on a Sunday evening, and I had an uncle who was he was a massive sports fan. He loved all sports. It was my uncle that took me to my first football match when I used to run in athletics and stuff like that. He would take me to the athletics track and stuff when my dad was working. So he kind of like we were like just really like sort of good friends, even from me being a kid. He used to play like pool kind of semi-professionally, used to play in a pool team, and I would go and watch him play pool and stuff. And he used to be really into American football, so I used to kind of watch it as well, right from being when it first started on there. And we decided, like the two of us decided we were going to pick a team each that we would follow, and I picked the Rams, he picked the Redskins, or Washington as they're called now, and so we just had teams that we followed, and we would follow the results every week, and we'd kind of like we'd kind of catch up on the games afterwards, like record them on a VHS video, because they were normally on a bit late for when I went to bed for school and stuff like that. And then as I got a little bit older, I played American football for a few seasons in a northeast team. When I was I think I must have been about 17 at the time when I was playing. And I just love American football, and the Rams have always been my team, really. So not really had a lot of stuff to shout about. But the last few seasons has been looking a bit more positive. I've got good fingers crossed for this season. I think this might be our year, because if not, I think we're going to have to start again. I think start from the scratch again. I think. Waltham says Belgium, all brick, whole house is a basement with a 2.3 metre ceiling height, so it's quite common here. Yeah, it seems quite common everywhere except the UK, I think. Sundered Sykes says ribs and collarbones are most painful. I think it's where there's nothing underneath, where it's almost skin on bone, isn't it? Tasty Braintree says I've got 4 and I'm going to get at least 3 more. My next one is a blue scorpion. Nice one. Jez says, are you filming anything at Expo? Do you know what, mate? I'm not really sure, because it's going to be a bit weird with everybody wearing masks. It's going to be hard to kind of... I don't really like the idea of filming videos with people wearing masks. So I think there's something lost in the video. What I'll probably do is I'll take my phone with me. The camera on this is pretty good, and I've got like a little kind of I've got like a DJI gimbal thing, so I get nice kind of smooth shots and stuff. So I've got like some wireless mics, so I'll probably put like the wireless mics in, and I'll take like a battery pack and stuff, and get my phone, and I'll probably get some shots of bits and pieces, things of interest, and maybe make a bit of a clips video of like me talking over the top of some of the stuff I've seen or whatever. But I think unfortunately with the whole, a few people not going to the event now, like in terms of exhibitors, and the restrictions and the mask wearing and stuff like that, I think it's not gonna be the greatest of footage, I think. So I'll probably see how I go. Autumn says nice, yeah. Redskins fan, nice one. Tabletop Ramble says go Pack go. You Packers fan. Tasty Brain Drain says basements aren't that common down here, but that's what you get when you live in the middle of a swamp. I'd imagine so, buddy. Sunded says could do a couple of YouTube shorts of anything cool you find. Yeah, potentially. I mean, what I might do is I might try and like sort of get a few shots of different bits and pieces, do a little bit of recording outside when I can kind of take the mask off and stuff, and maybe do a little piece to camera or something, and try stitching them together where I'm kind of talking over bits and pieces and things, and I'll try and see if I can do something. There's no point trying to do a kind of like a live video, I think. But yeah, I'll try and do something anyway. VG says, yeah, a little look around video with voiceover of the expo would be cool for us who've never been. It's just a shame it's not going to be kind of as awesome as it normally is. I think it's still going to be really good. The size of it'll be impressive just to kind of to show off, really, because it's generally the biggest in the UK, but this year is going to be a bit smaller. But yeah, I'll certainly, even if it's just camera footage. I've filmed a few videos for the channel already that's been done on my phone, and folks tend not to notice when it's sort of camera phone footage. As long as the light's good, it's the camera on the phone's pretty decent. As long as I've got a battery pack just to keep it charged up all day, because doing the video, it does drain it a bit. And something that's like saying there, yeah, makes me feel included. Yeah, nice one, mate. No worries. I'll certainly get some bits and pieces. And if I manage to sit down with anybody and they're willing to kind of sort of sit and have a bit of an interview type thing, I'll like I say, I'll take my little wireless mics and stuff, which means we can still kind of sit apart or whatever distance, however people feel comfortable and things. So yeah, it's just going to be a bit more awkward this year, I think. But yeah, I'll see what I can do. Sunday says all my videos have been done on my phone and no one has said anything about the quality. I think phones these days, like when people have asked me about what do I need to kind of start making a YouTube channel, I always say don't spend any money, just use your phone. Most people have got a decent phone these days. The quality of cameras on phones and stuff, like before you spend any money on cameras and things, like just make sure you light things. Like I've literally got 2 lights above me here, which have got like kind of soft boxes on, and they've got like what they called like a grid thing, which basically stops the light spilling out sideways. That's why my head doesn't look quite so shiny these days, because the light is basically coming straight down rather than onto my head. So I've got those 2 lights. I've then got a standing kind of light over there. I've got another light over there. I've got another light behind me here. There's the light on in the room, and then I've got this light on behind me. Like, lighting is way more important. You can make a really cheap camera or a camera phone you can make the quality of the video look so much better with plenty of light. And you don't need fancy lights, you just need lots of light, because the way these cameras work is basically they've got really small kind of lenses, if you like the lens quality and the camera processing quality is good, but because of the kind of the optical, like the iris of the camera, if you like, is so small, you need to get loads and loads of light into it basically, and that's what makes a good quality picture. VJ says awkward is the theme of 2021. You're not wrong, fella. Walter Black says, be glad your events have started up again. Everything here in Belgium is getting cancelled again after the recent surge in the Delta variant. Yeah, I think it's we're in a slightly different place in the UK, so for all numbers have kind of got quite high, although they're coming down again now. The fact that there are lots of people that are vaccinated and hospital admissions are very low, and obviously deaths are hugely declined on where they've been as well. It's almost kind of like they're at a point where they're going to give it a kind of like cautiously give it a try, I think, and see how it goes. A lot of the kind of the trials and the tests and stuff they've done has been good, but I know people are concerned obviously about the people that's not fully vaccinated yet and stuff. Sunday says decent sound quality can make a video a lot more enjoyable. 100%, mate, 100%. I would spend money on audio and lighting well before I spend any money on a camera. And I've learned that after doing this for 5 years. I didn't know that when I first started. I went straight from using a GoPro to I bought another camera and didn't even think about sort of mic quality or anything like that. VJ saying most people think good camera is the key to good footage, but it's really diffused light. 100%, mate, yeah. And VJ says background noise on videos can really rustle my jimmies. Yeah, I must admit I'm still learning about audio and stuff. And the thing is, when you're learning about audio, it's very difficult because what you don't really hear what it sounds like until you've recorded it, and then I find it sounds different if I play it back on my phone versus if I play it back on my TV versus if I play it back on my laptop. The sound sounds different across them, and so when I'm editing it, it depends what headphones I'm wearing. Like, so you can really go to like into it like deep with getting like studio monitor like like quality headphones or speakers and stuff. It's the same with color balance and stuff like that as well. Like my laptop's got a good screen on it, but it doesn't look the same on my phone as it does on my TV, and like so when what you see might be different and what you hear might be slightly different to what I see and hear when I'm editing stuff. Like, and I get it sometimes with things. If I put music in the background of videos, I'll always get somebody say the music's too loud, and I'll always get somebody say you can hardly hear it, it's pointless having it. And it's like I can't cater for everybody's different type of devices. So I always find audio the hardest part to do, I think. Reggie says that's why I don't really make videos. I know my voice sounds as shit recorded. I still haven't gotten used to my own voice yet, mate, or my own face, to be fair. So there you go. Robert Zung says take care, have to go. Nice catching a live chat. Thank you, Rob. Always nice to see you, mate, and I hope you're keeping well. VJ says apologies in advance for when we do your Patreon interview. Not at all, mate. I can't wait to have that conversation. Long overdue. Walter says, did you have to put in a lot of effort learning editing and stuff? I've been tempted to try making some video content, but feel that part might be intimidating. It's not hard to edit a video, like from a purely like cut this bit, piece them bits together. That's not difficult to do. What's difficult to do and what takes a lot of learning is knowing when to cut, knowing how to transition between videos, learning to film the right footage in advance, so that you, like, if I film something and I know that I've had to kind of take a pause and restart and do the next bit again rather than doing it all in one take, I know I'm going to have to cut it. So then I'm consciously thinking, right, well, I need to film something to bridge that gap. So it might be a bit of what you call B-roll footage. So then I then go through and make a B-roll list of all the extra bits of footage that I need to record to kind of cover those kind of transitions and stuff. So you can get a bit like arty-farty with it. You can try and improve the quality of videos by all the extra stuff, but don't be put off by editing. The very basic, like cut the ums and the ers and cut the silences out, is very easy to do. But as you do it, if you enjoy it as I do, which is why I spend time doing stuff that nobody else will notice. I once did a transition in a video where I'd edited the clips video from one of my Monday night lives, and I did this thing basically where I kind of I stopped the video. Like, so while it was playing, the video stopped, and I would like voice over the top going, oh, hang on a second. And then basically I did this cutaway where it was almost like it came out of the screen and came to me as if almost as if it had come out of the video and stuff. And I think like 2 people noticed it and mentioned it on my video, like about, oh, that cutaway was awesome. And it was like, yeah, I just enjoyed doing it. Most people never even seen it or never even like noticed it or never commented about it. I can't even remember what video it was now. I'll have to go back and kind of and share it or something just so you can see which bit it was. But I really enjoyed doing something really different. And the way I kind of did it was, when I was editing it, I kind of paused the video so that it was kind of on my laptop screen, and I filmed that part with my iPhone camera so that it matched up perfectly. And then I basically like pulled my camera back away and turned it round to face me, so it was almost as if it was coming out of the screen and like onto me. And it looked awesome when I kind of finished it. But yeah, most people didn't even notice it. So yeah, you can get carried away with those kind of stuff, but you don't have to. Certainly you don't have to. Ice Moon says, even a landmark director like Christopher Nolan has trouble getting audio balance down. There you go, mate. There you go. Vijay says, my life at the moment is B-roll footage. Yeah. Sunday says, editing for me takes ages, but that's because I keep screwing up my talky bits. Then I try to patch it back together to match the visuals. I do videos in a few different ways. So if I'm doing like a painting video, I will just paint the miniature. I won't even talk. I'll just paint the miniature, and then what I'll do, and what I do is I make sure that I get lots of video footage of me painting at each stage. And then what I'll do is I'll write a script about how I painted the miniature, and I'll record the audio for the script. And then what I'll do is I'll put the audio for that into the footage, and I'll go back and I'll edit the footage down so that the video that I've got fits the audio that I was talking about. So basically the description of what I'm doing is what sets the length of the video, and then I just put the footage in to kind of match the bits I'm talking about and try and match it up that way. And it takes a little while to do it, but it keeps the painting videos quite concise, because I think a lot of people can do painting videos and they have these like long sort of like periods where they're just painting the same piece over and over again kind of thing, with just almost like silence in there, maybe with a little bit of music in the background. And sometimes they can go on a little bit too long. And then so at the minute I'm doing a video at the moment. I'm not going to say too much about it, but it's basically like a building one. It's more like a terrain piece thing that I'm doing. So what I've been doing is just literally filming snippets of me building this thing, and I've been talking. Like you can't see my face in the videos when I'm kind of like building these bits. So I've just been talking, so that basically I'm explaining into the camera what I want to talk about afterwards. And I'll do the same thing. I'll take all of that kind of audio footage, write a script from it, and then do a voiceover so it all sounds the same. Because what I find is if I'm doing one piece outside, the audio sounds different to if I'm doing a piece inside here in the studio part. And whereabouts in the studio I sit, the audio sounds different. So I found it's better to kind of do a voiceover for the whole thing and do it that way. Vijay says, yeah, as a motion graphics artist, putting special little creative flourishes into your work is really rewarding and fun. I do this, mate, because I absolutely love doing it. It's like a creative outlet for me. Like it's almost a hobby in itself, like making videos and editing videos and doing the thumbnails and like learning how to use Photoshop and learning how to do After Effects and learning how to kind of use Premiere Pro and all the different plugins and all that kind of stuff. Like that for me is fun and exciting as well. It's a way for me to be creative. The only thing I miss is basically having somebody to bounce ideas off and go, like, what do you think of this? And like kind of, oh, do you think this is good enough? Could I do this better? And I think I kind of miss that stuff. A lot of what I do is just me on my own. And yeah, it will be good to kind of have a creative kind of mirror, if you like. Sonnet says, that's a great tip, thanks, I'll do that next time. I made the joke in my last video. I said, come for the pain, stay for the awkward silence. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if you put a little bit of music in the background, you can carry it off. But I think sometimes especially when people are first starting, I think they feel that they have to show you how to paint the whole model, when really I think what you're really doing is you're telling people how to do each step. So you don't have to see how to do the whole thing. You just need to explain how to do this bit and show an example of it, if you like. Fiji says, I have a huge list of videos and ideas and all the skills. I just need a face and a voice of someone else to be the public persona. Not at all, mate. Honestly, like I've got a face for radio, let's be honest. And my voice is not exactly, I'm no Morgan Freeman, am I? Let's be honest. But I do it because I enjoy it. Like, you've got to have tough skin, and people will say nasty things to you. I certainly had somebody not that long ago said that basically I shouldn't do any close-up videos, and my face put them off their breakfast and they couldn't eat anymore. So that was encouraging. But yeah, Fishy says that sums a lot of Twitch streams I've watched. Yeah, I think Twitch is something in itself as well. I think like live stream stuff is quite difficult to do as well. I'm conscious of it when I'm doing these live streams, of not having too much he says leaving silence, having too much silence in a video. And I've mentioned this before. It's something I've managed to kind of learn over years of doing live streams, that even when I'm talking and I've got a train of thought and I know what I want to say, I'm still looking at the chat to see what the comments are coming in, and in my head I'm answering the question. I'm telling you one thing, but in my head I'm answering a question for what's coming off like further down the chat, so that when I read it out I can come back with my answer, rather than like, so for example, if I just went here, Lord Maiden said, bollocks that you have a face for radio. If I sit there and let that absorb in and then think about what I'm going to say, they'll just be like loads of silences. So yeah, what a bella hint. But this is a face for radio and no Morgan Freeman. I think that works for a lot of us. There you go, mate. And I still managed to do it. So yeah, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Believe me. So it's like, I find your voice exotic. The perk of being from another country. Unsurprisingly, most of my viewers are not from the UK. I get a high proportion of sort of Australians, Canadians, Germans, Americans in the number one, I think. The UK is in like the top 4 or something, though. It's not like kind of like out there anywhere. But I think like the Northeast accent, the Newcastle accent, if you like, I think is generally seen as quite friendly sounding, rather than like being aggressive or anything like that. So yeah, I guess I was just lucky to be born here, really. Tony says, I've been asked to make a video a few times, something I don't feel comfortable with, so I stay with my stage-by-stage photobombs. Do you know what, though, mate? I think you could certainly make a video. You do not, especially when it comes to painting and like making stuff, you do not have to be in the video. Have you ever thought about making a video where you don't speak at all? Just do little bits, sort of edit it up into all the different steps and just put some music over it. Even put some text on the screen if you like. You know, like when you see like Instagram type videos and things like that, which are designed purely just to be almost watched in silence sometimes, because a lot of people don't like the sound on when they're watching Instagram videos. So if you find a lot of videos on Instagram have like text on the screen, try doing it like that, mate, where you're not even on the camera and you're not speaking. Try you can find your own niche if you like and do it a bit different. Tasty Brain Drink says, yes, I rather do enjoy the sound of Andy's accent. What can I say, mate? I'm stuck with it. There's not much I can do about it. I'm not good at doing accents. I'm not suddenly going to be able to break out the Irish or the Scouse or something like that. So yeah, I'm stuck with it. This is my accent now. Right after Morgan Freeman. Nice one, mate. And Sunday Sykes says, I'm a hell of a lot cheaper. Excuse me while I have a drink. Right, folks, I think we're going to wrap that up there now. VJ saying, idea for a video team. Tony Howell painting, me on the editing, and Morgan Freeman on the voiceover. Nice one. Right, we're going to wrap it up, folks. So, thank you very, very much for coming tonight. It's nice to chat about something a little bit different. It doesn't always have to be about a new game. Like I said before, it's quite difficult at the moment. There's not really anything outside of Kill Team at the minute, which I must admit, as the days go by, I get less and less interested in. there's not a lot to talk about at the minute. So coming up with topics for Monday night streams, it can be a bit difficult, but this was something that cropped up lately when I was thinking about, like, you know, we often talk about the hype train and we often talk about, like, sort of the latest thing, but we kind of don't really mention it after that. Like, it's almost forgotten about. So I just thought it was an interesting topic for a bit of change. And VG says, no bacon chat. You'll have to come back on Wednesday for the bacon chat, mate. He says, you must be on a health kick. I am, mate. Like I say, I went to the gym today as well. I'm drinking my water. I'm trying to kind of I'm trying to adjust my lifestyle. I did still have a Chinese takeaway at the weekend with my wife, like, to be fair. So yeah, I haven't gone full on health, but I did have a nice protein shake for breakfast this morning. I went to the gym. I came back and did this. I had a chicken salad for lunch, and I've been keeping off the snacks as well. So I'm trying, mate. I'm trying. Tizzy Brain Train says, good night, thanks for the stream. Thank you very much. Walter's saying, seems like GW just releases so much stuff, it gets harder to get excited about it. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, mate. Ice Moon says, cheers to your health. Thank you very much, mate. Cheers. And Lord Nova says, tonight was a great chat. Thanks, Jack Black. Just because I'm on a health kick, you don't have to call me Jack Black. And everyone's saying, yeah, thanks for the video. Thank you very much, folks. So, as I said, take care. I will see you on... Whoops. I'll not hit my mic there. I'll see you on Wednesday for the hobby hangout. No idea what we're going to be painting, but we'll be painting something. And then, yeah, I'm away to Games Expo on Friday, so you might see some bits from me over the weekend. I'll take my laptop with me. No doubt I'll have some time sitting in the hotel on my Todd or something like that as well, so I'll edit some bits together. And if the internet is good enough, we'll get some little clips and stuff up. So take care, folks. I'll see you Wednesday. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month, and there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.